ADAS calibration is one of the fastest growing profit centers in the modern dealership, and most owners have no idea when they actually need it, when they're being upsold, or that legitimate, affordable alternatives exist right now. Before we talk money, let's talk about what ADAS calibration actually is, because the dealership is counting on you not knowing. ADAS stands for Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. It's the umbrella term for every sensor-based safety feature in your modern vehicle. Automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert. In 2026, if your car was built in the last 4 years, you have between 4 and 12 of these sensors working together constantly. Each of these sensors, forward-facing radar, stereo cameras, ultrasonic proximity sensors, has a very precise required aim angle. The forward radar, for example, needs to be pointed within a fraction of a degree of horizontal to correctly identify vehicles at highway distance. The front camera needs to know exactly where the hood line is, where the lane markings are, and what angle it's viewing them from. Calibration is the process of confirming or restoring those aim angles to factory specification. It requires a known reference target at a specific distance and height, a flat level surface, the vehicle centered precisely, and software that can read the sensor's actual output and compare it to the expected value. When calibration is off, safety systems behave unpredictably. Automatic braking might trigger late or not at all. Lane keeping might pull toward the wrong side. Adaptive cruise might misidentify the vehicle ahead. This is why calibration genuinely matters and why it's not something to shortcut. The dealership is not wrong that this service is important. What they're wrong about is the price, the necessity of coming to them specific, and their willingness to tell you when you actually need it versus when they're just padding a repair order. Here is the most valuable thing I can tell you in this entire video, and it costs you nothing. Calibration is only required when specific things happen to your vehicle. Not every repair. Not every service visit. Number 1. The forward-facing camera, the one handling automatic emergency braking and lane detection, is mounted to the windshield glass on most vehicles. New glass means the camera's mounting position has changed, even fractionally. Recalibration is required every time. This is real, non-negotiable, and any competent windshield shop should include it in the replacement cost. If they're quoting you windshield replacement without mentioning camera recalibration, ask why. Number 2, any collision repair that touches the front bumper, rear bumper, or front fascia. Radar sensors are mounted behind these panels. Bumper removal and reinstallation, even careful, professional reinstallation can shift the sensor mount. Front radar calibration after any bumper work is legitimate. Number 3, front strut replacement, alignment corrections beyond a certain threshold, lowering springs, wheel spacers, anything that changes the vehicle's ride height or suspension geometry affects the angle at which forward sensors view the road. If your shop is doing significant suspension work and not mentioning ADAS recalibration, that's a gap in their service. Number 4, certain software updates. Some OEM software updates include revised sensor parameters that require a calibration confirmation run. Your dealership will flag this during a software service visit. Now here's what does not require calibration, despite what some service advisors will tell you. Routine oil changes, tire rotations, brake pad replacement, battery replacements in most cases, and this one surprises people: dashboard warning lights alone. A sensor fault code means the sensor detected an issue. It does not automatically mean it's physically misaligned. Diagnosis first. Calibration only if the diagnosis confirms it. In a 2025 survey of 200 independent repair invoices reviewed by a consumer automotive advocacy, 34% of ADAS calibration charges appeared on repair orders for services that don't meet any established calibration trigger criteria. That's not a small number. That's more than 1 in 3. Let's talk actual numbers. Because the range of what people pay for identical calibration services is genuinely shocking once you see it laid out. Dealership pricing for a single sensor static calibration, that's the forward camera or radar, done in a fixed location runs between $250 and $650, depending on the manufacturer and region. Dynamic calibration, which requires a drive cycle with a technician, adds another $100 to $200 on top. Full multi-sensor calibration after a collision can reach $1,200 to $1,800 at a dealer. Independent specialty ADAS calibration shops, these are standalone businesses that do nothing but this service, typically charge $150 to $350 for the same single sensor static calibration. They have the same OEM specification target systems, and in many cases, the same or equivalent software access through third-party scan tool platforms. Mobile calibration services a technician who comes to your location with a portable calibration rig, typically run $180 to $280 for a single sensor. Extremely convenient if you've just had a windshield replaced at home or can't drive the vehicle safely. And windshield replacement shops that have invested in calibration equipment, which, as of 2026, includes most of the national chains and many independent glass shops, often bundle camera recalibration into the replacement cost, or charge a separate fee of $75 to $150 for the recalibration add-on. The bottom line on pricing: if you are paying dealer rates for a calibration that a specialized shop, mobile service, or glass shop can perform with equivalent equipment, you are paying a location premium, not a quality premium. Now let's talk about the DIY tier, because there is a legitimate path for technically inclined owners to perform certain calibration procedures themselves, but it's very different from the tape measure and a level methodology you'll see in some corners of the internet. Here's what the DIY tier actually requires. And I want to be specific, because the gap between doing this right and thinking you did it right is where people get hurt. First, a flat, level surface with minimum 8 feet of clearance in front of the vehicle. Not pretty flat, measurably flat. A concrete driveway with good drainage pitch will fail this. You need to verify level with a precision bubble level across the front axle, not eyeball it. Second, OEM specification target boards. These are not homemade. Every manufacturer publishes the exact dimensions, patterns, and positioning requirements for their calibration targets. For many platforms, Toyota Safety Sense, Honda Sensing, Subaru EyeSight, Ford Co-Pilot, these target dimensions and placement specs are available in the OEM service documentation. Some manufacturers sell printed target boards directly. Third-party manufacturers produce certified reproductions. The target must be the right size, the right pattern, placed at the exact specified distance and height for your specific vehicle. Third, and this is the part that stops most true DIY attempts: software. You need a scan tool capable of entering the sensor's calibration mode and confirming a successful calibration result. For some vehicles, particularly those using the Bosch or Continental radar platforms, this is accessible via professional-grade third-party scan tools like Autel MaxiSize or Launch X431. These tools run $1,500 to $3,500. But if you're a serious enthusiast servicing multiple vehicles, the math can work. For other platforms, particularly GM Super Cruise, Ford Blue, and most German manufacturers, the calibration mode is locked behind OEM dealer software. There is no legitimate workaround. You need a dealer or a shop with an OEM software subscription. The realistic DIY scenario that makes sense: you own a Toyota or Honda, two of the most open platforms from a calibration documentation standpoint. You've had your windshield replaced. You have access to a proper flat surface. You've sourced the correct target board. You own or can borrow an Autel MaxiSize. And you're willing to spend 2 to 3 hours doing this carefully and correctly. In that scenario, you can legitimately perform a forward camera static calibration yourself. It works. The community around Toyota Safety Sense DIY calibration specifically is well documented, and the procedure is repeatable. The scenario that is not realistic and is genuinely dangerous: using a mirror, a tape measure, and physical feel to aim a sensor, and then going on a test drive to see if the warning light clears. A sensor can pass a fault code threshold while still being significantly misaligned in ways that degrade detection performance without triggering a warning. The dashboard clearing does not mean the system is working correctly. Before you authorize any calibration on a repair order, ask one question. What specifically happened to this vehicle that requires recalibration? If the answer is anything other than windshield replacement, bumper repair, suspension work, or a software flag requirement, ask them to show you the diagnostic data that indicates the sensor is out of specification. You have every right to see the before and after calibration data. A reputable shop will show you. If your vehicle needs legitimate calibration after a windshield replacement or body repair, do not automatically authorize the dealer or body shop to perform it without checking the alternatives in your area. Search specifically for ADAS calibration or advanced driver assistance calibration in your city. Mobile calibration services are now available in most metro areas. The 5 minutes this takes can save you $200 to $400. If you want to explore the DIY path, start by researching scan tool compatibility for your specific platform before buying anything. Forums like Prius Chat, Club Lexus, Honda Tech, and the ADAS-specific communities on Reddit are genuinely valuable here. Someone has already documented whether your vehicle's calibration mode is accessible via third-party tools and which ones work. Do not buy a $1,500 scan tool before confirming it can access your specific vehicle's ADAS calibration functions. Compatibility is model year specific and sometimes trim level specific. Finally, sensors don't spontaneously drift out of calibration under normal driving conditions. If you haven't had a windshield replaced, a bumper repair, or suspension work done and no fault codes are present, you almost certainly do not need routine recalibration. There is no ohm service interval for ADAS calibration under normal operating conditions. If a shop is recommending routine ADAS calibration checks as a recurring service item, that is a revenue-generating recommendation, not a safety-based one. ADAS technology is genuinely remarkable. The forward collision systems in 2026 vehicles are measurably saving lives. The data on that is clear and consistent. These systems deserve to be properly maintained, but properly maintained and dealer maintained at dealer prices are not the same sentence. The equipment to calibrate these sensors exists outside of dealerships. The knowledge to know when calibration is actually required exists. The difference between an owner who pays $485 for every calibration and one who pays $150 or successfully challenges an unnecessary upsell entirely is not mechanical skill. It's information. You now have the information.